Yes, well, really, there's a lot of steps along the way to going public, and for a company like SpaceX, which has been around for quite a long time, that it's been a long road. But this is really the most definitive step, you could argue, for SpaceX in terms of going public, because it means that they're serious in the sense that they've filed a hefty document with the SEC. We don't get to see it yet. Hopefully, we might hear about some of the things that are in it. But this really suggests that the deal is going full steam ahead, and I think all the body language we've seen even in just the last 2 or 3 days, we've seen a number of stories about different things that are happening around the deal, and it's really sort of indicated that it's full steam ahead, and everyone's pretty confident they can get this done actually by June. Now, June is a few months away, so a lot of different things can happen. We're in a world where different things can change, so it's worth being a little bit wary about how easy it's going to be to achieve this, but it's it's a monster deal, and it's somewhat unprecedented in many aspects of this deal.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account.
And the company is considering a dual-class share structure in the IPO that would potentially give insiders such as Elon Musk extra voting power to dominate decision-making, Bloomberg News has reported. Is that something that they're going to go to the regulators and get some feedback on? Because we've seen other media companies, tech companies have this dual-class stock.
Yeah, so that would be very prominent in the document. It will be mentioned on the cover of the document, likely. That would be something that would be not unexpected in this situation, especially when you have an IPO which is going to be is going to be very hotly sought by investors. You tend to find that founders of tech companies that are large and fast growing do have the ability to dictate such terms, and that's been my experience. It's not uncommon. It's not something that corporate governance purists love, because it means that if things go wrong, investors may not get to have a huge say in any changes that they would like to see. But it's not surprising that that's something that would happen. And for Elon Musk, it might allow him to consolidate his empire somewhat.
I'm just looking at Tesla. DES screen for Tesla does not have a dual class.
Yeah, so maybe he learned from the first time. And of course, it's not unusual for founders to launch an IPO like this. Meta has this dual class structure as well. And it's fittingly that we're getting this confidential IPO on the day that NASA is set to launch astronauts to the moon for the first time in 50 years. Anthony, one thing that we do know about SpaceX is that it acquired xAI, which is Elon Musk's AI startup, earlier this year. What does that have to do with this IPO? Why was that kind of a necessary step towards this IPO?
Well, I think people have different theories on that. I think it probably makes sense for the funding needs of that business to bring it into SpaceX. I think some people felt that that wasn't great for it's made the business not as attractive as a whole. But at the end of the day, I think people are backing Elon Musk because of his track record. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned Tesla. I mean, it's just extraordinary that if we go back to 2010 when Tesla went public, I think it was a few $100 million IPO of a company worth a couple of $1 billion. I mean, we're talking about such larger numbers now, but I think xAI is we're going to see some numbers there. I mean, from all reports, it's been burning cash, so it's not adding to the profitability of the overall business. So that is a concern. But I think because we're also expected to see possibly Anthropic and OpenAI go public this year. I mean, there is an arms race for growing the AI aspects, growing these businesses, and I think SpaceX is going to be part of that, and that's obviously adds a growth element to the business as well, but it does probably make the financials not look as good in the short term.
But getting there first.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's been reporting that Elon may be considering kind of rolling up all his stuff. SpaceX may be acquiring Tesla, for example. X, yeah. I mean, he's already done that. I mean, what do we know about that? Is Elon said anything about that?
Well, I think there's a lot of speculation about that, but I think what we're seeing here is that SpaceX is going to go public before that happens, most likely. I think there could be a change of plans. You never know, but it does. There does seem to be. There could be some industrial logic in Elon Musk having all of his businesses in one listed entity, but it may be for different reasons because of the way these businesses are developing and the value. Obviously, most companies looking to go public are always trying to maximize valuation and make sure they can have access to capital. I mean, the thing about these businesses being so large is they have almost, for all the ups and downs of Tesla over the years, Elon Musk has demonstrated he has
Yep.
unlimited access to capital, and this business is going to have a good access to capital, which is going to allow them to do many things.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of size and scale.
Yep.
I know that you always look at the banks
Yep.
that get signed on to do this. SpaceX has lined up Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. Basically the five biggest bulge bracket firms.
The big five. So they're going to have dozens and dozens of banks around the world helping them sell this thing. All I know is if I'm buying space, I'm thinking that the shareholder base is going to be a big overlap. The people who kind of are in the Elon camp, they already own Tesla. My sense is they're going to be a very high crossover there between Tesla and SpaceX. So at some point down the road, particularly if he has super voting shares, he might be able to put the companies together.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable theory.
What's next here? When do we actually get to see some of the numbers, do you think?
So typically what happens is the filing will become public. Typically, there'll be a strategic decision about when that is. But if it's the case that the IPO is on track to actually the stock's actually on track to debut perhaps in late June, which is get in before the summer.
Why file confidentially then? Why not just make it public?
Well, because confidentiality was originally, when it was first SEC created the ability for companies to file confidentially. It was really for small companies to help small companies go public, but it's over time it was extended to every company, so it was just something that was available to all companies. So it's something you would use, but in this case, it doesn't matter that much in this situation, because basically what will happen is SpaceX will now be able to go out and start meeting investors, and they'll be able to use information in that filing when they're talking to investors, still in a confidential way that's not really public, but the filing of the document will allow SpaceX to say lots of things to investors that they wouldn't otherwise be able to say. That's our understanding of the legal position there, and it's really they'll be doing a lot of testing the waters meetings. The meetings are supposedly starting next week, and so it's really full steam ahead here.
Okay.